Hey guys, Barrett here. Welcome back to the video. Today we're talking about the top 10 most common intermediate player mistakes in pickleball. This is the 2021 updated version of this video. I think I made the last one was back in like late 2019 or something, so there's going to be a couple of new tips here and the other ones are going to be a little bit reworked. Hope you enjoy it. Keep in mind, we all make mistakes, including myself, okay? I've made every mistake on this list. That's how I know how to talk about them. Keep in mind that just making one mistake every now and then is not a big deal. It's when they happen continuously and it becomes a pattern, that's when it becomes a problem. So keep that in mind as we go. Let's get started with the first tip. Okay, number one, lack of a third shot drive, or just lack of an attacking shot in general. So it can be very tempting to get used to doing a third shot drop all the time, but every now and then you need to pull out the big guns and try the third shot drive. So let me just kind of show you what it looks like here. So in general, what you're looking for here for a third shot drive is a ball that's short and a ball that's bouncing high. The higher it bounces and the shorter it is, the quicker it will get there and the more angle you can get going down. If it's really low over here, you got to get over the net first, right? And that can be a little bit more difficult to do. So what you're looking for here is a short ball, but also one that bounces a little high. So, okay, yeah, Linda just had to dodge that one. A little windy right now, but that's a pretty good example of how a ball can bounce high and then basically you're going to take advantage of that, okay? So keep in mind as you play, you know, if you get a really good serve on your opponent and they really pop that return up, you should be looking to drive that ball, not drop it. Okay, number two, high bouncing dinks. So let me just show you what happens if Linda hits a high bouncing dink about right here, okay? So let's just say that we're dinking back and forth here as usual, okay? And she hits one of these high bouncing dinks, not like a put away, but something that's kind of in the kitchen like that. Okay, very, very easy shot to do. If you know you're going up against like a 4-5, especially a 5-0 player, if you get these high bouncing dinks like this, that is bad news for you because they can just roll that thing over. There are two general things that you can do. First of all, we can focus on getting our dinks a little bit lower over the net and a little bit more narrow. So instead of hitting them up, we're instead pushing them forward. So let me show you here. So as we're dinking back and forth, so going to focus on really pushing that dink forward instead of doing this like that. That's what's bad, okay? So what we're going to focus on here is pushing the dink forward, okay? Instead of just hitting them high automatically. So notice how these balls are dropping a lot lower here, right? And they're not just bouncing high in the kitchen. If I were going to like that, you see how this works? See how it bounces high? The higher it bounces, then the closer it's getting to that level net area where someone can flick the ball over. Here's the second thing though. That's the first thing. Here's the second one is go cross court. So if Linda heads over here, I'll show you what I mean. The distance between here and here, okay, is about 14 feet around there, okay? But the distance between myself and Linda now is much longer. So if I were to hit a 14-foot dink straight here, it's going to be longer than if I hit that same 14-foot shot cross court. So if you're having trouble hitting your dinks too deep or too high, then go cross court because the ball will naturally land in the kitchen and it will bounce sideways, right? And not popping straight up, okay? All right, dinking back and forth here. So as I said, dinking cross court gives me so much more room to work with compared to just dinking straight forward like this. The ball is more likely to land closer to the net, which protects the ball. If it's deep way back and it bounces high, the ball is much less likely to be protected by the net, and that's when you'll see those little flicks and those forehand rolls. Number three is body dinking. So games are very interesting. When you think about game design, it's such a give and take thing, right? In basketball, you pass to another person. In soccer, you pass to another person. You can't play a card game unless you interact with someone. And that's very tempting to do in pickleball, right? I mean, in order for you to play the game, you have to give the ball to the other player, right? But we can't fall for that trap. It's very easy for us to just dink straight away here and literally just dink straight to the person's forehand like this. Because that's what a game is, right? We're playing a game, we're playing catch, we're playing ball. But that's the problem though. A lot of people will just dink directly to the person. You have to dink to where they're not. And that is the key. When you start to understand this, and you start to see the empty spots on the court, your game will change forever, okay? So just watch what happens. Compare this, okay? I'm gonna dink with Linda just straight away here, all right? Now she was making me move there, but what if I were to do that now? So now I'm gonna make her move. You see the difference it makes. It makes a big, big difference when you start to dink to where they're not. I know it can be weird to like ignore someone almost, right? But that's not what pickleball is about. We have to make sure that we're moving people. I'm having a hard time talking because Linda is the one that's moving me now. Well, you see how that works, okay? So try to move people around, dink to where they're not. Now, going along with something similar to that is don't forget to use the angles. So angles are very interesting. You know, pickleball is a game of geometry essentially. And when you're on the court and you're dinking with someone, or you're just hitting with someone regularly or whatever, pay attention to the angle that you're hitting the ball. One thing that's very important to know is that diagonals are longer than straight ahead lines. So again, like we talked about earlier, the 14-foot line right out in front of me is going to be shorter than right at here at the kitchen, at the corner of the kitchen here. Not by a lot, but it's going to be longer. Not only that, but if I were to hit a ball this way, it's going to go past Linda much more than if I just hit straight ahead. So when you are making a shot, pay attention to where you can hit it, but also pay attention to where you are hitting from. As an example, if a ball were to bounce here on the center line and I were to go cross court to the corner of this kitchen over here, that's going to be a more shallow angle than if I were to hit it from here. And that makes a big difference. So think about your starting point. What's your starting point here? Think about how you can create angles by using starting points from either here in the kitchen or here on the sideline or here right on the center line. So as an example, I'm going to dink back and forth here with Linda, and I'm going to pay attention to when she hits one to my backhand, okay? And when she does, I can then do the cross court angle here. That's quite sharp. If I were to do it from my forehand, it's not going to be as good. So a lot of people just dink randomly and they don't think about this. Think about your starting points and think about how an angle could affect your opponent. Number 5, repeating the same shot over and over and over again. This is a really, really good one and totally understandable, right? Because there's this thing in pickleball where consistency is king, right? One of the best things you can do is get the ball over the net. But if you want to get better, you have to start shaking things up a little bit. So Linda and I are just going to do some flat dinks here. Flat just means there's no spin on it, or at least not much. And we're just going to push the paddle forward like this. We can do this all day long if we wanted to, because there's no spin on the ball, there's nothing really going on, and it's just, first of all, this is not even real pickleball. Pickleball does not function like this, okay? But over time, what happens is that your opponent gets used to the same shot over and over and over again. So what you're doing is you're training your opponent how to hit your shot. So instead, we got to change it up. We can do different kinds of shots. We can do spin, and that's probably the one that's preferable here. So if we're thinking back and forth here, I can just do like a little top spin thing over there, do a little volley maybe. How about some back spin over there to the corner? Nice little volley. How about some more back spin? Woo, that got her. In terms of spin, that's probably the best way to really change things up. So I'll do some top spin, I'll do some back spin here. I'll do some more top spin towards the kitchen line over there, top spin, more back spin down the line, flat dink to the center, top spin again, back spin, butt volley, and so on and so forth. Now that ball was out obviously, but you see what I mean. Try to shake things up and do things differently. Keep in mind, It's going to be a little strange when you start doing this for the first time because you may be a little bit inconsistent with it, but that's okay. We have to learn how to switch things up so that we don't become predictable. Okay, now we're on to a big one. Lack of soft hands. This one is huge if you want to get better finesse in pickleball. Let me just show you what happens here when you have a death grip. I'm squeezing this handle as hard as I can, okay, and I'm just going to try to hit it softly, but I seriously can't. It's like exploding off my paddle, and it's very awkward. So one thing that will really help with pop-ups and other things and getting more finesse is to really loosen up on this grip. Here's just an easy way to do it, okay, just to start out with. Hold the grip with your thumb and your index finger, okay, and leave off your middle finger, your ring finger, and your pinky here. Just do that for practice, okay? Don't do this in a real game, but just for practice. Try that out, and it will get you used to what it feels like to be hitting with soft hands. It may feel awkward at first, but it will really help over time, and it will train you to give you that confidence to let go of the paddle. There's a control element with this. Oftentimes, if we feel like if we squeeze hard enough, we'll have more control over our game, but it's the exact opposite. You have to learn how to let go mentally and physically of this handle to get better finesse in pickleball. Okay, number 7. We're in a little bit of a different location here, but this is really going to help if you feel like you're not getting enough power on your ground strokes or especially your serve. So a lot of people, what they do when they serve, sometimes they don't have a lot of power, is they only take the paddle back to here. They don't take the paddle back very far, and they wonder when they hit the ball, they wonder why they're not getting any power. Well, it's because you're not taking the paddle back. There are 2 general things you can do. You can take the paddle back just normally like this to make sure that you're pointing it behind you like that, or you could do kind of a circular motion. A lot of tennis players will do this kind of thing. Personally, for me, it's not my thing. If it is for you, fantastic. But here's what you want to do. Get a fence behind you. If you're one of these people, and by the way, use a camera, record yourself to make sure to see if you're actually doing this or not, and hit the fence behind you. It is one of the most effective things you can do to make sure that you're taking the paddle back properly. So let's just say I'm sitting here practicing my serve, okay? Take the paddle back, hit the fence, and then swing through. If you're not getting a lot of power on your serve, it's probably because you're not taking the paddle back. Use this fence as a visual tool, and it will really help. Number 8, lack of shot development. It can be very tempting to get set in a certain pattern or a certain way of playing, but as you get better, you have to start developing new shots. But let me give you a little tip that I think will really help here. It's not so much about learning a specific shot, it's about learning a principle that you can then apply to multiple different shots. As an example, topspin. So with topspin, I like to come down here, kind of rotate that grip to the right a little bit, and then brush up like this. But you can do that with many different shots, right? So if I'm doing flat dinks like this, I can do a topspin dink like that, right? Like that. Or I can do a roll. So focus on the principal technique that's behind the shots so that you can then apply them to multiple different shots like topspin, as I just mentioned. Because if I really get good at a topspin stroke, well then I can apply that to a dink. I can then do that with a cross-court dink. I can then potentially do that with a backhand kind of motion. Do it with slices, backhand slices as well. So I can do a backhand slice straight away up here, right? But I can also do them cross-court that way. Maybe I can do a lob out of that, probably not. But you see what I mean. Once you understand the principle behind the technique, you can then apply those to specific shots and they can become quite powerful. Not only that, but it can kind of just make it a little bit easier and reduce some of the pressure when it comes to learning new shots. So for this next one, I'm gonna have to have my back to you. I apologize for that. But number 9 is being stationary with your shots. So this one pops up a lot, especially on the 3rd shot drop. And what people will do is when they hit their 3rd shot drop, they will do something like this where they'll hit it and then they'll just stare at the ball and they'll just stand here like this, okay? See it all the time. It's very tempting to do, and I get it, okay? But it's killing your game. When it comes to making difficult shots or just any shot in general, you have to make sure that you're untangling your feet and you're getting back into a neutral position. When you hit the ball, it's outside of your control. You can no longer control what that ball does, all right? It's in your opponent's court now. So you have to take that time to then reset yourself, get your footwork back in position so you can get ready for the next shot. So it doesn't really matter where you're standing. When it comes to practicing this kind of stuff, it can happen with the third, the fifth, the seventh, whatever, okay? So what you want to do is just focus on hitting the shot over and then getting your feet back into a neutral position. And don't even worry about the shot itself. Who cares if it goes into the net or if it's not very good or whatever. We just want to make sure that we're untangling our feet after we make the shot. And that's going to help with your footwork in so many different areas. Again, don't worry if it's not perfect. That's not the point. Okay? So practice that. Stop staring at the ball, basically. I know it's tempting, but it's really important to reset that footwork when you strike the ball. So before we get into the last tip here, I want to encourage you guys to sign up for my premium membership service, PK Academy, pickleballkitchen.com/membership. I'm hearing amazing things from the members in there. They're all getting on medal stands, they're winning more, they're noticing extreme improvements in their game. If you like what I do here with these videos and with these lessons, you are going to love that. I mean, as an example, my third shot drop video is like 30 minutes long or something. It's insane. So get in now while the price is still low. The price will go up in the future. So pickleballkitchen.com/membership. Definitely check that out if you want to get more out of me. Okay, the final one, not respecting pace. This is the big one. So Linda's gonna hit hard shots at me here, and I'm gonna show you how to absorb pace. If you want to get better at pickleball, you have to learn how to slow down the game, okay? And when you do that, you're basically reducing the power that your opponent's shot had, okay? Let me show you. Now Linda's gonna stand at the kitchen line here, okay? And I'm gonna kind of stand back here, and she's gonna hit hard shots at me, and then my goal is to block them back into the kitchen. This is for practice, of course. That was pretty good. Now what you want to focus on are those soft hands. So when the ball comes in, don't feel like you're going to be pushing the paddle forward. You have to learn how to accept the ball into you, okay? Not push it back out, all right? There's plenty of pace on that ball. Your paddle will take care of it, okay? You want to learn how to absorb the force coming in. All right, absorb these shots. Okay, I think you get the point at this point. Keep in mind that when you do absorb the shot, you're gonna be tempted to nudge forward just a little bit. That's probably okay, all right? It's when you go like this and you completely push the paddle forward that it becomes a little bit of a problem. Guys, those are the top 10 most common intermediate player mistakes. Go over to pickleballkitchen.com/membership to get started with PK Academy. Highly recommend it. And as usual, thank you guys so much for joining me. I'll see you next time.